Mao Mao Heroes of Pure Hearts has always been a story that focuses on the deep importance of love and camaraderie. The main cast often feels like a found family that were drawn together by chance, and when they're not out saving Pure Heart Kingdom, they're saving each other with love and, as cheesy as this may sound, the bonds of friendship. This is something that particularly applies to the titular character of the show, Mao Mao himself. Coming from a home where he was unloved by his father, siblings, and his entire family, for being born basically the runt amongst them, he was constantly facing verbal and emotional abuse from his father, and it seems just in general he was lucky to be even considered an afterthought when it came to his blood relatives. The episode Lonely Kid explores the effects of this neglect and abuse on Mao Mao at the age of 5, basically dropping us in the midst of a day in his life. And at the end, it gives us a satisfying conclusion, reminding us that despite the hardships he faced throughout his entire life, basically, our hero has now finally found a true family that does actually love him. Lonely Kid is easily one of the best episodes to come out of the entire series. In my opinion, it's only rivaled by the likes of Small, which was the 17th episode in the series where Mao Mao's father comes to visit the kingdom. In terms of quality, I'd say Lonely Kid and Small are about equal, standing above basically any other episode in the series. So in my eyes, I think this episode is extremely underrated, and well, maybe not underrated, but more like under-discussed. And I really can't tell why. I've seen YouTube reviews on other amazing episodes like Small, Adore Dad, but also on less notable episodes like Strange Bedfellows or No Shortcuts, yet I've seen none on Lonely Kid, and it's so weird. I don't get it. I personally find this unacceptable. Thus, I have decided to become the change that I wanted to see in this world. In this video, I, as an experienced Mao Mao fan, will go over Lonely Kid, covering its plot while pointing out any fun or interesting little details I noticed throughout the episode, to give the episode the attention it truly deserves. But even with this in mind, I heavily suggest you go watch the episode yourself. Not just because I obviously can't cover every single moment that contributes to general enjoyment of the episode in this video, but also to support the series as a whole. Watch every episode of Mao Mao. Now on to the review. The episode begins with Adorebat attempting to draw Badgerclops' attention to how upset she was feeling. I'd like to note that this is in direct contrast to the episode No Shortcuts, where Adorebat is upset but unwilling to share why. This displays that she's grown to a point where she feels more open with her new friends. She explains that she's feeling down because no one at her school wants to be friends with her, which is, I'll be honest here, I think it's because she's a dictator towards them.
I told you to behave while I was gone! Listen up! This is my shoes! I'm nothing like the rest of you wimps! I own you!
Anyway, this prompts Mao Mao to tell her a story about his childhood. The story of how he met his first friend. The flashback begins with Shin Mao once again earning Father of the Year award by abandoning his 5-year-old infant son at a seemingly random town nearby the large mountain that the Mao family lives in. As obviously, the adventure he's going on with his daughters is far more important than the well-being of his son. Mao Mao himself did not know anyone in this village and had no way of returning to his home at the top of the mountain, meaning Shin Mao basically just left his only son in a place full of strangers for an entire summer with no home and only a single ham sandwich to last him for all those months, while taking his one and only method of defending himself against the countless monsters that roam this world, that being a sword. Naturally, Mao Mao then begged his father to allow him to join the family on their trip. But Shin Mao didn't care, rather casually ignoring his son's pleas to not be abandoned, while nonchalantly telling whoever's driving the family's bus to not wait up, in a tone that made it seem like he'd just done this all too many times, to the point where it's basically just routine, which, well, the rest of the series supports that it is a routine for Shin Mao. This Clearly isn't the first time he's abandoned Mao Mao in this way, and it's probably not the last time either. Just a glimpse into our sheriff's lifetime of abuse from his father. This is just how Shin Mao is towards his son, abusive and neglectful. While this fact is well reinforced throughout the entire series, the short scene at the start of Lonely Kid does a fantastic job at reminding the audience of this abuse in preparation for the exploration of the loneliness and the isolation that Mao Mao suffers due to being treated this way on a daily basis.
Oops, almost forgot. No real swords around the normies.
Oh,
Say hi to your Aunt Gloria for me. Don't wait up.
wait!
I'd also like to point out a small detail I noticed upon rewatching this episode. The back bumper of the Mao family bus has a small doodle of Mao Mao's entire family on it. Considering their stick figure doodles and well within the range of a 5-year-old's reach, I'm willing to bet that these were scribbled on by Mao Mao himself at this age, as an attempt to feel more like part of the family. The next section of the episode involves Mao Mao making several desperate attempts to befriend the people of the town, each attempt resulting in catastrophic failure. I won't go into much detail here, as there's not much to note, though like I've said before, I suggest checking out the episode as a whole, if you haven't already. If you have, just watch it again. It's the type of episode you should absolutely watch twice. I do, however, want to note how powerful Mao Mao was at the age of 5 already, capable of creating complex rope traps, and his physical strength combined with his speed being so great that he could generate enough friction to set rocks on fire. I don't think anyone else that isn't from the Mao clan could do this in the series, so the fact that despite him being this strong at this age, he's still seen as the runt of the family with basically no promise, and that being the source of his family's abusive nature towards him, tells you how powerful the Mao clan as a whole is. Returning to the flashback, he continues to fail to befriend the villagers. This section of the episode concludes with him being launched into a river. The story then paints a very obvious contrast between Mao Mao's relationship with his father and a regular, healthy parental relationship.
I had so much fun with you today, Papa!
I love my son. I don't care who knows it.
Despite his relentless attempts to befriend the villagers, they ultimately end up hating him, which leads to Kit Mao's emotional breakdown, blaming the fact that his family always seems to abandon and neglect him on himself for being too weak. This mindset is very present throughout the series as well. He's never mad at his father for the constant neglect or emotional abuse and beratement. He's angry at himself and the world that he has constructed around him for not being good enough. It's important to note that at such a young age, Mao Mao is well aware of how ostracized he is from his family, something he'd sadly have to deal with for the rest of his life. The declaration that no one likes him is rather sad to hear, but to some degree, it's depressingly true. However, there is a glimmer of hope. It is a little difficult to truly deduce what his relationship with his mother is. From what I can gather, she's probably more loving towards him than anyone else in his family, based on her calling him in the episode small. Yet, she seems to never be around, which is hinted at in this episode. Perhaps this is due to her being busy or ill, but regardless, it's clear that he's constantly left at the mercy of everyone else in his uncaring family. The scene lingers on the somber note for a few moments, with a heavier focus on the background music. Before being interrupted by that dog from before, Mao Mao ultimately gives the dog the name Bao Bao, and they form a deep friendship that lasts for over a decade, being the hero's only friend during this time. While he likely believes he was always meant to be a hero, considering that's what everyone in his family is, being loved became the deeper motivation for that goal throughout his life. Thus, with the goal of being loved in mind, Mao Mao forms a plan to make all the villagers love him. A plan which goes horribly wrong, causing everyone in the village to despise him and hunt him down with pitchforks. The mob is led by that old man from earlier. His aunt joins in as well, who didn't even know what was going on, yet still picked the side of the angry mob over her 5-year-old nephew. The show makes it pretty clear that the Mao clan as a whole does not like nor care for Mao Mao. Another instance of this is in the episode Sugarberry Fever, where one of Mao Mao's uncles had seemingly passed away off screen, but he was never informed of this death. Or in Small, where his home phone, which was seemingly used exclusively for his family to contact him, is covered in dust, suggesting that none of them have bothered calling him in a long time. In contrast, Shin Mao casually calls up Minori later in that episode, showing that it's very easy and very possible for them to do so. The flashback concludes with Kid Mao hugging his newfound friend, stating that despite how bad things were for him right now, it was okay as long as they were together, likely a trend that continued throughout his life. We see in earlier and later episodes that during his teenage years, Mao Mao was rather upbeat and positive, a trait that vanished after Bao Bao's betrayal. It's very likely that Bao Bao, in a way, served as the pillar of Mao Mao's mental health and emotional well-being, supporting him through the abuse and neglect he suffered on a daily basis. So when Bao Bao did leave Mao Mao when he needed him the most, and didn't return for over a decade, all this likely came crashing down on him afterwards as a result. But the nature of Bao Bao's betrayal and the impact it has on Mao Mao's larger mental health is something that's to be discussed at another time.
How does it feel to be trapped? Trapped like I was!
Despite confirming that he and Bao Bao were assaulted by the entire village on that day, despite Bao Bao leaving him all those years later, and despite the fact that this was the beginning of an entire summer of homelessness for our hero, he still looks back on this memory fondly. As bittersweet as the ending of the flashback may be with our knowledge of the future, the actual ending of the episode is incredibly sweet and heartwarming, with Adorebat and Badger Clubs fighting over who Mao Mao's true best friend is, showing that after all these years of being unloved and after Bao Bao's betrayal completely shatters him, he's finally amongst the family that actually loves and appreciates him. The writing and storyboard credits for Lonely Kid go to Nathaniel H. Jones and Alexandra Kwan, who also happen to be credited in the same role for the episodes Small, Adore Dad, Popularity Conquest, and Meet Tanya Keys. So just all my favorite Mao Mao episodes. They're also credited in others too, but I felt like mentioning those specifically. Just like with those episodes, they absolutely knocked it out of the park with this one. Small is an episode I've always considered a 10 out of 10, yet they've managed to replicate its greatness with this episode as well, which fills me with confidence that if or when the series resumes, we'll get more episodes of this amazing quality. Finally, I feel like it'd be a disservice to end this video without at least briefly mentioning the music playing throughout the background of this episode. The track is called No More Waiting, and its tune really sets the mood for this episode, while its lyrics reflect the journey Kid Mao goes through. The song in and of itself tells a story as well, and there's a lot to be analyzed there too, but considering how long this script is already, I think it's best if we close things off here, for now at least. Now that I've finished going over the episode, let's take a brief moment to discuss the takeaway from this episode, the deeper meaning behind it all. If you're feeling alone, if you've been betrayed or abandoned, if you feel like you don't have any friends, you should keep holding out hope, because as Mao Mao said,
Your real friends will find you.
That being said, thank you all for watching this video. It took a long time to script, record, and edit, so I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like. I'll likely be releasing more videos on this series in the near future, so if you like Mao Mao or enjoyed hearing me talk, please don't forget to share this video and subscribe. That out the way, goodbye everyone, love you!